Hey folks, good evening to you all. My name is Kalu Aja. Welcome to another Twitter Spaces with me. Here we talk about money, finance, the economy, and how it affects you personally. So it's all about personal finance, how all those topics you hear about on the TV to do with money, how it all affects you, right? So today we want to talk about crowdfunding. And if you guys are not aware, last year, I believe it was in December, the Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission did issue a license, a crowdfunding license to a firm. They're called PropCrowdy. Um, it's run by Dr. Ronald Igbinoba. I think he's going to be here with us today. And so they have the SEC license. Essentially, they are approved to operate a platform where, as you know what crowdfunding is, where you can go in and raise money for your enterprise by then advertising to quote unquote the crowd. The background to this, of course, is before this, you had a lot of folks that were doing crowdfunding in Nigeria, especially the folks in the agri sector. So you would have them go out and say, "Hey, want to do this farm or want to do this investment? Come in and invest with us." And they all invest, and then they sort of like create this unofficial mutual fund or unit trust scheme where they share the returns back to you. SEC felt that there was a lot of stuff going on there that were not just should we say, not just well regulated. Folks were getting their monies invested and did not see returns. And there were a lot of there was no proxy to hold this money. So you would pay money to this party and the party was investing in another scheme, things like that. So SEC has tightened up the rules, right? Tightened it up and has more or less said, okay, we're going to have this is the guidelines if you want to do crowdfunding. So PropCrowdy, which is the guys we're going to speak with today, they are essentially they have the SEC license, so they are the platform. Look at them like the Nigerian Stock Exchange, sort of, but they are the platform where if you want to raise funds, you can go there. Then, as a promoter, you can then talk to investors on that platform. So they are simply the platform. And I think it's perfect because what they do, right, is to then give you the platform where you know you are on a platform that has been approved and you can speak to your investors. So what I really want to know is how to dive deeper to per se with the guys at PropCrowd. You understand how we can do this. Like I'm going to assume I'm just an entrepreneur. How can I get my fund on PropCrowdy? What do I need and all that? And then let them talk to us. I see them here on the space. I've requested for them to speak. So hey, folks. You've got to ask to speak so I can bring you right up. I see you here in the space, but you've got to request to speak. I've sent you the invite. Let's get you here and let's get this party going, right? So whilst we wait for PropCrowdy, guys, just a quick one. Remember, we're doing this month is a month where we are tracking our expenses on the personal side, right? We started January and we're trying to do that for 30 days where we are tracking what we are spending money on and what we are earning money on so that we can have ourselves set up properly for 2023. It's the little things that kill you, right? The little expenses you don't track, that's really what comes back to bite you. All right, so I've got Ronald in here now, and I'm going to ask the speaker. Thank you so much. And once we have him up, he's going to introduce himself, and then we'll take it from there, guys. So, and again, we're going to speak, I would say, do introduction about 30 minutes, right? Then, of course, if you have questions, you're going to be available to simply ask those questions. Ronald is here. He's just connecting, and he will be able to take us through. I see some other guests here that I do appreciate you guys all joining. Take some time off your Saturdays. I do appreciate it. Ronald, if you can hear me, go ahead and say hi. I think it's having some technical issues. Yes, Callum having technical issues. I will join. I hear you. Give us a second, guys. Trying to get Mr. Ronald Igbinoba, the CEO of PropCrowdy, to come on stream so we can hear him speak to us about it. But guys, let's just talk a bit more about crowdfunding. I did a poll. It's not scientific, but if we just the poll, I asked folks, how are you going to finance your business in 2023? I said family and friends. I did banking. I did crowdfunding, right? And I did savings. The number one avenue that folks said were going to finance their business in 2023, according to my poll, which is not scientific, right, was family and friends and bank credit. Crowdfunding was like 17%. It was a far distance. It came a far distance last. It didn't really show up really on that, right? Financing, how you finance your business is very, very important. I would say it's the most important thing that you do in your business apart from the business idea. If you've got a great business idea and you finance it wrongly, it's going to die, right? Doesn't matter how good the brand is. What I mean is this: if you start a business with a bank loan, there's a 99% chance that that business is going to fail. Why? Because bank loans are not patient equity. When you take a bank loan, you've got to make payments, right, every month, irrespective of the profit that you make. So a bank loan will charge you from day one. But your startup needs what we call patient capital. Capital that will stay with you through the thick and thin as you try to set yourself up, right? And if you do not get that patient capital, clearly the business will fail. There's this popular saying that business in Lagos and Abuja lasts for only 24 months. Why 24 months? Because that's when their rent payment runs out. Because they get a lot of bank loans, but they can't continue with working capital. So, how you fund your working capital is very, very important. If you're a startup, you can't pay back bank loans immediately. So, you want to do a lot of what we call equity investments. Equity is ownership. So you are giving ownership to family, to friends, to angels, to seed, to startup investors to say, come in and invest in my dream. And as we get bigger and we start to then generate cash, you can do a cash out through when we do our initial public offer. That's how it's supposed to be. You have an idea, you take your own savings, then you use the savings of your family and friends before you even go to the investors that are out there. That's essentially how it is supposed to be, right? And then those investments, as you then start to generate funds down the line, you start to make cash down the line, you are able to pay back a cash dividend back to your early investors or to do an initial public offer, and your initial equity investors can cash out with their funds. That is the process. So if you take a cash loan at the very, very beginning and you have to make interest payments immediately, that's going to be a recipe for disaster down the line. Which takes us to crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is rather innovative because it mixes both elements, right? You've got your family and friends, folks that want to give you cash, but you've also got the crowd out there. So essentially, you are saying, I'm going to take my idea to a crowd of investors, and I'm going to say, instead of investing ₦1 million, why don't you invest ₦100 on 1 million of you? So I get the same money, right? I break it down, I retail that offer to my investors, and my investors can then invest in that dream that I have. That essentially is what crowdfunding is all about. You are able to take that offer to a larger base of investors, and it's more retail. You are able to raise those funds. I would say with a larger crowd, but you get the same volume of money because you're going to the crowd. And how you can do equity, you can do debt, but essentially it's crowd funding. But thank God we've got an expert here to talk deeper to us about. Hey, Ronald, hi, good morning.
How you doing, Carlo? It's evening here. Sorry, we've been having some technical glitch. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Happy to be here. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, I mean, Ronald, just for folks that are just meeting you for the first time, who are you? Introduce yourself. Talk about PropCrowdy a bit before we get into it. Right? Go for it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carlo. Thank you again for having me. So my name is Roland Igbinoba. I'm founder CEO for PropCrowdy. Uh, I have a background in real estate. Over the last 18 years, I've been focusing on real estate transactions from a point of transaction advisory, basically. And so this will involve feasibility studies, capital raising, deal structuring for clients, basically developers, financial institutions, commercial banks, mortgage banks. So all for the past almost 2 decades, I've been focusing on real estate, but basically from the transaction advisory um, section. And so over the last 4 years, PropTech, which is the combination of real estate and technology, is something that has resonated with a lot of the clients that we work for. And so what we decided to do was to really dive down deep and started doing research on what exactly the intersection of technology and real estate would benefit our clients. And it is the result of this that we have continued to develop and build a PropTech community where today you have over 180 founders who are doing different things across the value chain of real estate through PropTech. Just as you know, fintech. So PropTech is basically the intersection of technology and real estate. And I've gone back to talk about the PropTech community just to give a background of how PropCrowdy came to be. So across the real estate value chain, what you would have is access to land, regulation, fundraising, marketing, up onto facility management. And so what PropCrowdy has done is to create a product at the value chain point of financing. And the reason basically why we did this was to democratize real estate investments. Sometime last year, Carlo, we did a survey on LinkedIn asking how much do you think it is required for you to invest in real estate? And so the least figure there was about, I think, 100,000. So we had 1 million, we had 2 million, we had 5 million. Do you know that people started to put the highest responses we got, maybe somewhere around 57% was people who put about ₦1 million. 100,000 naira, people felt that, I'm not sure we got up to 1% of people feeling in that with 100,000 naira, you can do real estate. And this drove home the point that a lot of people feel that if I don't have that 1 million naira, that's 1.5 or that 500,000 naira, I cannot do real estate. I cannot do real estate investment, which is entirely wrong. But let me clarify, real estate investment is different from buying a house. So when you talk about investment, we're not saying that you want to buy a house with 500,000 naira or 1 million, but we are saying that how do you benefit from the upside of a transaction? And so that's what led to PropCrowdy, where the goal is to really ensure that someone earning 30,000 naira, which in dollar terms will be around $80, would be able to do investment in a real estate asset class type. And that's basically what PropCrowdy is all about. And that's why we decided that to be able to do this and to ensure that this is done within the confines of a regulator, we went to the SEC to obtain a license. And we are proud that today PropCrowdy has a SEC license to be able to create somewhat of an exchange or a marketplace where everyone who wants to raise financing for their development can come to. So it's a two-side approach to what we are doing. First, we are democratizing real estate, the real estate asset class in terms of investment. With as little as 10,000 naira, you can come on the platform and make an investment. On the flip side, we are helping small, medium enterprises who are in the real estate value chain to fund the projects that they have. These guys will either have to go to the banks, queue up with high interest rates to be able to get funding. So while we are democratizing real estate,
Ronald, I think you just went off. So if Ronald, if you can hear me. Okay, so Ronald, I think I hear you say what I got from this is essentially it's a crowdfunding platform, and it's more or less targeted at the real estate part of the market. So if I want to raise funds uh, to complete or to develop a real estate project, I can come to PropCrowdy as a vendor, and I can then advertise, or should we say, seek for investors from the platform that PropCrowdy has created. And same way, if I am an investor and I heard you say 30,000 naira, I don't know if that's your minimum or just an example you gave. I can also invest in real estate with as low as $80, 30,000 naira to get into a property development. Is that correct so far? Or I think you have some technical issues. Yeah, but I'm liking what I'm hearing, folks. I'm liking what I'm hearing. I think we had a few weeks ago, we had a few guys come talk to us about, yield farming through real estate in Lagos. And the thing about Lagos real estate, if I just take it again, Lagos real estate is very expensive to invest. The yields are not as high as people anticipate in Lagos. So you have Lekki, land is very expensive. If you buy in, you get your revenues, but the yield on that property is very, very low because of the high cost to get in. So I'm just going to talk about Ronald. I don't know if I know you're back in. Can you hear me now? So let's go back to the yield story I was giving you guys about Lagos. If you invest in Lagos, right, in the highbrow areas, the Ikois and the Lekkis, those yields tend to be very, very low. Why? Because the cost of you getting into that property is very, very high. So it drops your yield. The asset value rises. So your house in Lekki is going up by percentage because of inflation and demand. But the actual yield that comes to you as an investor is really depressed, right? So these folks are talking about how they then take those same homes in Lekki and are able to generate more yield, right? Because they are doing more of the Airbnb. So it's the same property, same 5 bedroom duplex, but by converting it into a property, they're able to generate yield. So again, the yield of course has to do with how much you are putting in. So if I see a way I can invest in homes in Lekki, in Ikoyi, via a platform like what PropCrowdy is, I can also diversify more or less my own asset class. I can do shares, I can do bonds, and I can also do property, which is why this interests me and I'm very excited about this. I hope Ronald can sort the tech issues and can continue speaking with us. I know tech is, we're still not there, but we're doing a lot better than we were years ago. Ronald, are you back with us now?
Easy, but I'm back. Don't worry, I'll keep at it. I'm so sorry that it keeps going off and off. Yeah, I hear you. We are not there yet. Part of the challenges that we
Well,
have in the tech sector. But I'm here. Sorry, I lost you for a bit. I don't know if I rounded off. Um, so
that's what you don't know. I think what we heard you say was to say essentially it's a platform. I, as an investor, can go in and invest in opportunities on that platform. As a developer, I can also come to that platform and seek for funds in that sector. Let's go to the next question,
correct.
Ronald. Really,
Okay.
I need. Assuming I'm a developer, right? I want to develop property. Is it in Lagos? Is it all part of Nigeria? Can come to PropCrowdy. What do I need as a developer? And just to be clear, so PropCrowdy is only for real estate. Just to be clear, before we move ahead.
Okay, so let me clarify that a bit. Okay, so to answer the question quickly, as far as you're in Nigeria, we can crowdfund. Okay, now in terms of we can crowdfund real estate and other sectors. Okay, but we will not do commodities and agriculture. Now the reason for this is that to be able to do agriculture and commodities, there is a different part of crowdfunding license that you would have. So we will do everything real estate and other sectors. So for example, I can do infrastructure. I can do infrastructure, meaning I can do renewable energy. Okay, I can do solar panels. I can do everything except commodities and agriculture. So to clarify, if you're an MSME who's trying to raise funds in any other sector apart from agriculture and commodities, yes, PropCrowdy can help you with that.
Okay, very important. So if I do want to do solar for a housing estate, I can raise my
correct.
funds.
Yes, correct. Because
Okay.
again, you know that the real estate value chain, and that's why I try to go back to PropTech, okay? Any part of the real estate value chain, which involves even construction equipment. If you wanted to raise equity for construction equipment, you can come to the platform. I think, let me not get ahead of myself, because what's critical is why, as an MSME, you want to raise funding. At the back of my mind, the question that I want to answer is, how will I get my money back? Meaning the investors who are bringing their 10,000 naira, their 20,000 naira, or their 1 million naira, how would they get their money back? And that's basically where we do a lot of the due diligence, just to ensure that investors are able to get not just their earnings, but also get their capital.
Okay. All right. So now, so let's go to the question direct. Like, so if I am a property developer, and let's say I'm in Aba, or I'm in Lagos, I'm in Abuja, what do I need to get listed on Crowdfund? How can I get into raising funds on Crowdfund? Let's talk about the developer side now. Then we'll come back to the investor side. So lay it out for us. How can I raise funds? What do I need to do?
Okay, great. So first things first. We want to ensure, and let me just clarify this for a lot of the developers in the space, okay? Doing crowdfunding doesn't take away our traditional due diligence of ensuring that you have a viable transaction. So the usual suspects of, do you have a title to that project? Okay. What is the return? How are you going to generate the return, the payback for the guys who are investing? And also, we have SEC requirements that says that you must be 2 years, you must be at least 2 years in business. So, which means you will have audited financial reports for 2 years. But don't worry, if you don't have audited accounts for 2 years, the rule requires that you can have a technical partner who has more than 2 years experience for you to be able to come on the platform. So things we look out for is your corporate governance. You know, there's a whole lot of KYC. So we want to look at your board of directors. How do you operate? Where is it? How are you registered? Are you even registered to be able to do development? So we have a long list of due diligence and KYC that you have to sort of pass. And you can find all of these at PropCrowdy.com. If you also go to the SEC site and the section of crowdfunding, you will find all of these rules. So that's basically what needs to happen. But to start this entire process, you have to create an account on PropCrowdy platform. So you go to PropCrowdy.com, create an account, and once you have created that account, we will start engaging you on everything that is required for you to be able to.
How much would it cost me? Like, I mean, should that figure out there so folks know if I want to. If
okay, so it's 5% of the maximum amount that the SEC guideline allows is 5%. But depending on the project that you are doing on the platform, and depending on the cost of taking that project to completion, you can then negotiate with the platform. But the maximum fee, so it is safe to say that the maximum fee that you will pay is 5% of the total amount that you are crowdfunding.
Gotcha. All right. So it's project specific, right? Can I have more than one project on the platform at one time? Can I do my house in my development in Lekki, my development in Aba? How does it work? Ron, did you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. Sorry. I heard you. I heard the question. Again, it was just a bit of technical glitch. So what we advise, again, trying to tread carefully. What we want to do, once a developer has shown expertise, okay, in paying back returns to the retail investors, then you can do that. But again, we are guided by the rule, okay, that says that you cannot do more than 100 million, okay, in a 12 calendar month period.
Okay.
But, you know, with the generosity of the SEC, we can always go back and get special approval and requirements depending on a project. So what I'm saying, Carlo, is, for example, if you crowdfunded already, okay, and you have a need to crowdfund again, and let's say that we've seen a track of this particular project that you are crowdfunding is on track, is on course, the milestone is fine. On the basis of that, we can go back to the SEC to say, Roland has come again, even though the 12 months hasn't expired and he wants to fund. But you see, Roland Enterprises has met all the milestones concerning the first transaction, and we are certain that they'll be able to pay investors back. And the reason for this is that, Carlo, let me just drop this, because again, the risk management protocol is very robust. The reason for this is because we don't want another developer crowdfunding on another project and taking that money to the project that they already have. So we want to ensure that the capital of those investing is not at risk. So that's why all of these rules and guidelines are in place.
Okay. And a quick question again, just who does the due diligence? Is it you or is it the investor? Like, I heard you say 2 years tax payments, board of directors. Are you saying you are going to do the due diligence on the folks on the platform?
Yes, PropCrowdy would do the due diligence.
Okay.
Because again, like I said, all that responsibility has been passed to us by the SEC.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the next question is this. So as an investor, how do I get in? I heard you say 30,000 naira to get in. So this is going to be like just like the stock exchange, like plan well. Like I just go in, I see projects, I can invest. Do you have a minimum par? Is there how does it work as an investor? If you lay out that lay of the land for us.
Okay. So thank you very much. Again, once you get onto PropCrowdy, if you are signing onto the platform for the first time, it brings out a disclosure. Okay, and a disclaimer, again, the SEC has mandated that we do that. Now, why am I saying that? Is to say that your investment should, as a retail investor, so there are two types of investors that the rules have recognized. There is the retail investor and then there's the institutional investor.
Okay.
Now, as a retail investor, you are not able to do more than 10% of your total annual income. So the reason for, yes, you are not able to do more than 10% of your total annual income as a retail investor. So for example, if your salary is 1.2 million per annum, you can only invest a maximum of 120,000 naira. And this is just safety net that the SEC has put in place just to make sure that people are not putting their money that they ordinarily need at risk, But for the high net worth individual, for institutional investors, there is no limit to how much they can invest. Okay, and so what we have done on the platform is to ensure that if you earn ₦1 million and you are trying to invest 120,000 naira, the platform throws you out. Because part of the KYC that we do is to validate how much you earn. Okay, and so when you are at a point of investment, if you put in more than the 10% that is required, then you are not able to invest.
Okay. Ronald, question for you. If I'm a guy, I don't know much about property in Lagos, I want to invest. What guides me on the platform? Do I just go by my knowledge, or are they going to advise yield, that this is going to be the yield on this property in, say, 5 years? What would guide me? I know on the stock market, I know price earnings, I know sales. What will guide me if I come to the PropCrowdy site as an investor? What should I look at?
Okay, great. So as a marketplace, as an exchange, so to speak, so we will continue to do consumer education for everybody who's on the platform. Okay, that's on PropCrowdy. But you see, the fundraiser is really the one who, so to be clear, PropCrowdy would not guarantee any return on your investment. But what happens is that the fundraiser, as part of the requirement, the fundraiser will put a placement document, which is a document that you will use to raise money on the platform. So everybody investing will see the fundraiser's placement document. In this placement document, the fundraiser will state how much they are paying their investor.
Mm.
Mind you, because we are a marketplace, so to speak, you can have, we can have maybe 20 different fundraisers on the platform. Each fundraiser would have defined earnings that they are promised or that they are going to give to their investor.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happened? What guides the retail investor is that once a developer is raising money, so you will go to the placement documents on the platform. We've made all of that available. You download it, you read through it, and you will see the promise that that developer has made. So with 20 different investments on the platform, each fundraiser has a different returns and promises that they are promising the investor. So that's how it works.
Okay, so I basically have to read the placement memo to understand. So, but then in that placement memo, the yields is going to projected yields will be there, things like that.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay, I got you. So, guys, we're speaking with to set the room up again, right? We're speaking with Dr. Ronald Ibinoba. He's the CEO of PropCrowdy. This is the Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria's first registered crowdfunding platform. And from what you're hearing him say, they are focused more on the property side. He's giving us the requirements as a fundraiser, the developers, how you can get into this. He's also told us about how, as an investor, the safeguards, how you can get into the market, what you should look out for, what they're going to look out for as well. It's looking interesting, guys. So if you want to speak, request to speak, I'll add you in here so that we can also take Ronald up on more and more questions. Ronald, just let me ask you a question just a bit outside PropCrowdy. In your view, I don't know if you can give us some figures, right? How is the property market in Nigeria doing vis-a-vis yields on returns, right? Last year, the stock market did 19.98 return. So if I invested in the index, I got 19.98 Nigerian stock market. Just by your own experience, how property?
Okay.
I mean,
okay. So it's interesting. I mean, like you said, the all share index was around 19%. I'm not sure that even beats inflation, right? Inflation is around 21, isn't it? So this is where, yeah. But yields over the last, I would say, Carlo, over the last, say, 5 years, yields have been around 6-7%. It's terrible.
Which yield is this?
Yield, I'm talking about real estate.
Okay.
So I'm talking about yield, within the real estate space. But let me tell you what prop tech has done, which is property technology. So, I mean, for those of us in the call, I think yield is just simply if you bought a house at 10 million naira, and for example, if you are letting that house per annum, and you are letting it at about 1 million naira, so it means that yields are around 10%, right? Now, I'm saying again that the development costs have been on the increase.
Yeah.
Cost of building materials over about 52% of materials used for building are FX requirements. You need FX. And we all know that you might not be able to get official rate. So a lot of the developers would then buy at the parallel market. So that has affected yields in a way. So again, to answer the questions, yields are around 6-7%. But with property technology, what we have found is that these young entrepreneurs within the real estate space have found a way to push co-living and sharing economy in real estate. What does that mean? Simple. So rather than paying on per annum basis, you have companies like Split and Rent Small where you can pay on a monthly basis right now rather than paying on an annual basis. Besides that, outside of that, you also have PropTech companies like Hap Living, who are now helping you to increase your yield. So, for example, if I took a 3-bedroom at 2.5 million naira, I can now lease that out.
Ronald, you've gone off again. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, Ronald, I think you're off. Let me see if I can get our guests that are hanging on to speak, maybe to ask their questions while Ronald is going to sort out the tech issues.
Really
Ronald,
low.
Ronald, we lost you a bit there. You were talking about yields and we lost you. I don't know if you want to just take that again, and then I'm going to bring it Rotimi and Error to basically ask their questions.
Hello.
Hi, Rotimi, how are you doing? Ronald seems to be having. Let me get your question in, so that way I can make sure I ask you. I know you've been holding. Rotimi, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kalu. I'm someone who has also been following development in the crowdfunding sector. I've read the SEC guidelines, and what I saw there is 2% for platform owners to charge for fundraise. But what Ronald said seemed to be 5%. So I'm kind of confused about the actual rate that platform owners are supposed to charge, whether it's 2%, which was in the guidelines that I read as early as maybe late last year, or it has been changed to 5%.
Okay. Great question. I want to make Ronald clarify that. Is that the only question you had, sir?
Yes, that's the only question. Thank you.
Just hang in there. I'm sure I'm going to bring Ronald in to answer that question. Hey, Mr. Error, how you doing? I like that name. How you doing, sir?
Hello, Carlo. Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, hi. What's going on?
Okay, I'm good. So I want to ask two questions.
Okay.
To Mr. and Dr. Ronald. First, how do the platform or what measures are in place to contain scam? Maybe I can pretend that I'm a developer, bring all the documents, register it with TAC and all that, submit it. I get a crowdfunding of maybe 50 million. I can decide to not do the project that I was supposed to do with the money, and maybe abscond with it or do something else with it. That is one. Then the second one is, how do I'm an investor, I come on the platform, I maybe invest in a property, let's say 100,000. How do I get the monies? Is it that I would have to come back on the platform to withdraw my profits, or the developers pay the profits directly to my account? So just those two.
I think those are very, very interesting and great questions. I can hear you. We can hear you, Ron. We can hear you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I have two questions for you, right?
Okay.
Two quick questions. Rotimi is asking, number one, that on the SEC platform, it was stated that the fee was going to be 2% to the platform owners, right? But he heard you say 5%. Could you clarify? Is it going to be a 2% or 5% to platform owners?
Rotimi, I'm not sure where you got that from. You might want to just cross check. Okay, I don't think it's 2%. You might want to just double check that, Rotimi. It's 5%.
Okay,
so
it's 5%.
He actually says not more than 5%. So there's no 2% in the rules at all.
Okay. Rotimi just muted. Did you have a follow-up with Rotimi?
I'm trying to just fetch the document. You can continue.
Okay.
I try to fetch the document, and if I find it, I'll be able to simplify.
Just send me a DM or hand up, and I'll bring it back. Yeah. Then we have a question from Error, and he asked two great questions. He asked, number one, how are you going to protect the platform from scammers, right? Someone can raise funds today and then fly to Bermuda tomorrow. How are you going to protect the scam?
Correct.
Number two, and I think it's very, very important. How does this work in real life? If I invest 10 Naira into the platform, how do I get my returns back? Does the platform pay me, or does the company pay me? How does it work, really?
Okay, so great, good question. The first one is on how do you ensure that this developer does not go on to the island of Mile somewhere. Okay, so the truth is, when you raise money, and SEC has been very deliberate about this. When you raise money, at the close of your fundraising, we sweep money to the custodian bank. There are about 8 custodian banks in the country today. So what happens is that the custodian bank disburses the money to the person who has raised funding. In the case of real estate, this is what we have done. We prepare a cash utilization schedule to say that money will be disbursed to the developer on milestone basis. So once the money is with the custodian bank then disburses to the developer on a milestone basis. So it doesn't receive the next tranche of funding until he's met the milestone. So let's take, for example, there are we set up 3 milestones within the cash utilization schedule, right? So it means that we say that when you get to first floor, once you do the decking for the first floor, we'll advance you 30%. So the developer will not get the second tranche until we've been to site and we see that, yes, the first floor decking is in place. So that quickly, his ability not to meet the milestone quickly triggers if there is a problem. And so we can nip it at the bud. So that's how we are ensuring that we don't give anybody money. And we put this in place just to make sure that, again, the money that investors have put on the platform or they are invested, it's critical, and we are ensuring everything to make sure that they get their money back. Now, the second question around who pays the retail investor. Now, the investment, at the end of the day, what happens is that the fundraiser, as they receive money, they send the money to PropCrowdy, and because we have the details of the investor, PropCrowdy then also distributes the capital in addition to the returns that they have earned. Carlo, did you hear that? Hello, Carlo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. So, Ronald, what you're saying essentially is this, right? If I invest in a project on PropCrowdy, right?
Yeah.
PropCrowdies are in a custodian. Now, when the development pays, they pay back to the /custodian/PropCrowdy, and they pay me. I don't chase the investment. PropCrowdy pays me.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Because you have an account with PropCrowdy, you invested on the platform. So naturally, we pay you back from the platform.
Okay. So very, very good point. And so you pay, I invest through you. Your due diligence is the custodian side of it, and you pay me back. Okay. Is this payment on a regular schedule? Can I select how I want it, or do you guys have a regular, maybe annual, quarterly? How does it work in terms of who specifies how I will be paid back? Or is it like a company annual dividend, or how does it work?
So usually it depends on the fundraiser. Okay, we make quarterly reports to all investors. But when I say depend on the fundraiser, the tenor for the investment could be 12 months, it could be 18 months, it could be 24 months, it could be 36 months. But throughout, we make reports to the investor, whether the retail investor or the institutional investor. Now, in terms of what it is paid, again, the placement memorandum will discuss that. There's no general rule that says you must be paid on an annual basis or on a biannual basis. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, Carlo. The fundraiser, all of this will be explicit in the placement document. So if it's a bullet payment at the end of 12 months, then that's what it is. And that's what we would hold the fundraiser to. If it's a quarterly payment from 12 months until 24 months, that's what we would hold the fundraiser to. Let me give you an example. Carlo, if a developer comes onto the platform and he says he wants to raise money, 100 million naira, and he says he's going to be paying quarterly returns, okay, I will not put that developer. First of all, that developer has failed. That project will not happen because I'm giving you 100 million in day one. How are you going to start to pay returns in day 90? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, because we want to ensure that this is sustainable. It's not just about bringing in money, and then promising return. And that's the due diligence that we do. For example, we as PropCrowdy have gone ahead to enter into a tripartite contract agreement between ourselves, a developer, and the custodian. Okay? Just so that within this tripartite framework, everybody is clear. And what happens is part of that tripartite framework is to say that, guy, if you don't meet your milestone, know that this project could be taken off you. And remember, for every real estate transaction, we have title deposited with the custodian.
Oh, interesting.
So the investors are safe. I mean, Carlo, in all modesty, I've been doing real estate advisory for 18 years. Okay, so we are not about to come and mess up anybody's investment. And that's why we took the last 3 years just to make sure that we are within a regulatory environment. And that's why we didn't, we had this product 6 years back. The reason why we didn't go was because we knew that this needs to be regulated and people need to be confident when they are doing crowdfunding.
Okay, makes sense. Let me get 2 other questions in here. I've got Tony and I've got Chinedu. Tony, hi, how you doing? Go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Thank you very much, Carl, and well done to you and the team. Roland, while you were giving a response as to how you then mitigate the risk of, flight of the developer, there was something you said that then piqued my interest. You said funds will be disbursed, along milestones, and you use the example of a first floor. But then what struck me is how the projects are tied to foreign exchange that has a lot of volatility, and our project costs can then balloon within the period. So I then begin to ask myself, if you are limiting payments to certain, if you like, to those milestones, is it not possible that you don't have a project overrun in terms of costs? The other side of that to me will be, rather than just limit it to just those milestones, a question could be around what are the inputs that are exposed to this sort of risk, and can you then directly pay to the suppliers or stuff like that. Just thinking around what could then go wrong if you strictly just do milestones. Thank you.
Okay, good question.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Tony. Great question. So if I understand you correctly, right, you are talking about only, and just respond yes or no, you're talking about only the FS component, which means the building materials component that may be effect on the transaction. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so because I was going to say that if your transaction is dollar denominated, for the risk of FX, we will not list you, we will not put you on the exchange or on the platform. That's very clear. So if your transaction is dollar type transaction, or that would be difficult. Now, what you have said is a question of how do you manage the supply component of a transaction, which makes a lot of sense. So again, at the milestones, there are several contracts. There's some contracts that are materials that are just labor only. There are contracts that may be labor and material. So what I hear you say is to say that this developer needs to stock up the supply that he needs for the project. And you see, all of this, and that's why I gave that example, is not cast in stone. And remember, for a tripartite agreement to be effective or to work, it means that the cash utilization schedule that we may have prepared is in sync with the developer's timelines and what you want to do. So again, let's use your example. What this means in actual fact is to say that if you are going to need doors, okay, I'm just giving an example. If you are going to need doors out of China in month 6 for a project that is starting in month 1, and it's going to take about 5.5 months for those doors to come in. It then means that rather than giving you a milestone of, say, 20% or 30%, we can add that door component, okay, to your milestones that you will use locally. So let me give, for sake of another example, it means that your first tranche might then be 50%. But what's going to happen since I'm giving you 50%? It means that, as you have also insinuated, it means that that 20% will be wired strictly for the purchase of the building materials. And appropriation would also be made for clearing sale. Because I will not give you the money for clearing when the goods haven't arrived. So really, good question, but it also just emphasizes the need that on a case-by-case basis, the kind of agreement, the tripartite agreement that we enter with the developer and the custodian is such that engenders the development of that project, so that it is not only on time, but it's also on cost, just so that we can avoid cost overruns. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, that was a good question. So essentially, Ronald, it's going to be, you're going to have folks doing project management by project management to release cash flows based on your understanding of the real estate market in Nigeria. That's what I hear you saying. That's a lot of work.
Oh yes, sure. That's what it is, and that's why for us, it's like I said, the good thing is that, or rather, our success is determined by how many people who ordinarily will not be able to invest are able to invest. One. Secondly, MSMEs who have been sort of packed up, who couldn't do their transaction, are also able to get financing. And the reason for that is that a lot of people enter. So I'll tell you, Carlo, for free, that there are projects that the developers would think that they are very good projects, but that we will not allow to come on the platform because they will not have met our minimal risk criteria.
Okay, interesting, makes sense. Okay, let's get Chinedu in here with this question, and then I have my own follow-ups again. Chinedu, hi, you've got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Carlo. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Roland. My question is...
Yeah, evening, Chinedu.
All right, so my question is, do you have any form of insurance cover for both the investors and the crowd funders? The reason I'm asking is this: I work in IT, and part of what I cover is security in that space. And we've seen even the Fortune 500 companies suffer breaches, even with all the world-class technology they employ to prevent such occurrence. I've listened and I've heard all you've said, all the steps you've taken to ensure safety of the users on your platform. But my question is, if there happens to be any form of breach or an unforeseen event occurs, do you have some sort of insurance for your users? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have layers and layers of insurance or insurances. I don't know if there's any word like that. But I'll tell you, even right from internally, we even have fiduciary insurance. That's one. In case anybody within the team gets some ideas and wants to do anything funny. Okay, so there's fiduciary insurance, there's project insurance, and then there's the insurance for the fund for the investors. So, and that's why I just say that we have several layers of insurance. So I hope that answers Chinedu.
Let me take it further. I think if I invest a Naira in PropCrowdy, are you saying that my 1 Naira is guaranteed?
Okay, so part of the requirement, okay, for the fundraisers is to ensure that yes, your money is insured. I think in simple terms, that's what it is. Yes.
That's an interesting.
So Carlo. So let's not say guarantee. Let's say insurance. Okay, because again, PropCrowdy as a platform cannot guarantee any returns. Oh, I just want that to be clear. But for your capital, there is a requirement that there is insurance for the capital that you're invested on the platform.
Okay. All right. Super. Good to know that. Let's get TechSoft. I've got TechSoft here. Errol, did you have a comment? Errol, did you have a comment to make, a follow-up?
Yes, Kalu.
Yeah.
Okay, he clarified the scam parts I talked about at the first level. Then the second level is, as a developer, I've gotten my 100% funding and I've completed my project good and fine. So how does the platform ensure that I pay back profit? Is it that do I have to state that I'll sell the properties or I'll rent them out? How does the platform on its own enforce me returning capital and profit?
Okay, so thank you very much. All of this will be stated in your placement document. And the way we ensure is, okay, is that remember, right, that there's a custodian account. So you raise 100 million. Maybe you have promised people 120 million, and you have said in your placement document that this money will be ready in month 12, for example. So our internal workings is to say that from month 10, okay, or from month 9, you start to build up the account with which you will pay the investors, okay? And remember, you have a lot of things. And so outside of your cash flows that we would have checked, outside of your experience, outside of the fact that, so for example, if you are raising money on the platform, we will ask to say, where are the people who have committed to buying? Maybe you have 10 units. We are saying we want to see a commitment from at least 4 or 5 of the units.
Okay.
So there are requirements in place that ensure that you are going to get that money. So to answer your question, your exit plan is very clear in your placement memorandum. So if you are going to say that when you sell 2 or 3 of that platform, what would that happen is that all you are basically saying is that I'm doing 10 units. I will need 3 to pay the investors. These 10 units, you've raised 100 million naira. Maybe you have like 100 million or 200 million of your own. We have your title. But in your agreement, you are selling 40 million for each. In your agreement, you are giving your investors 3 units, which is 40/40 by 120. Given not that the investors will go and find out to sell. No, the investors are not in the business of selling. But we're just saying that title, assets, everything is there as a last option out in case of any problem.
Gotcha. So again,
and that's why I said, sorry, Kalu, and that's why I said at the beginning that we are not throwing away any risk management protocol, for real estate transactions. Everything will still be in place. It's just that now we are working with more speed, and we're also enabling people. Again, high net worth individuals will get into that transactions. Okay, and we'll be talking more around on the debt crowdfunding. There is also equity crowdfunding, where you are going to agree with the developers to say this project is on for the next 4 years. Again, the placement memorandum will state whether this is debt crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding. In the case of equity crowdfunding, you are putting in your money, you have agreed with the developer that you are taking the risk with him, but you're also taking the upside with him. So you get on that equity crowdfunding for a project, and that can potentially have huge risk the same way it has huge earnings. So at the end of the day, when the developer disposes the project off, whatever the valuation of the property or the section of the property that has been funded, that will then be shared amongst the investors.
Okay.
Yes, Carlos, go ahead.
I hear you again. This is talking more or less of very, very particular operational management. So again, just my own view to make it easier for me. Like, I don't know, quote unquote, finance. I don't know all this. Make it easier. Like how Morningstar does the boxes and says, this one is this one is equity, this one is 5 years, this one is risk. Make it easy for me. Just my own comment there. Just make it easy for me as not that I'm not an investor to understand what I am doing on the platform on PropCrowdy, because what you're saying is very operational and very good. But I just want to make sure the investors are giving that understanding of that if I want to invest 100 naira, I know exactly what I should look out for and how I should invest.
Okay, thank you very much, Carlos. So on the debt side, okay, so what this is saying is a fundraiser come and it promises you to say, hey guys, if you give me 100, if you give me 100,000 naira, I'm saying that I will pay you. I'm going to use it for this project. At the end of the day, I will pay you 20% or I will pay you 15%. Let's take an example of 20%. It means that at the end, if it's a 12-month project, it means that at the end, I'm paying you back your 20%. Okay? Now, for equity crowdfunding, he doesn't tell you, he's saying that, look, we are getting into this project. It's going to cost, we are going to build 10 units of one-bedroom apartments. It's 100 million naira. And that's what I'm raising for you. By the time we finish building in month 18 or in month 24, building and selling, if it's 300 million, it means that all of us that contribute 100 million, we will share the 300 million. Okay? But if we sell at 150 million, after 2 years, we will still share 150 million. In which case, there is no, unlike the debt side, which is typically on an annual basis, the guy is saying, I will pay you 15% or 20% or 18% on an annual basis. On the equity side, you have skin in the game. If that 100 million naira project turns to 1 billion in year 3, you will share that 1 billion with that developer. If that 100 million naira project turns to 20 million, it also means that you have lost money.
Okay.
So, I mean, I hope that was like broken down enough. I hope that was, but Carlo, you can help me too now.
No,
you can break it down.
The thing is this, right? What you're saying, I understand it. What I'm saying is that if an investor comes into PropCrowdy that wants to invest really, he just wants to make better yield on his savings account, right? To make it pretty visually easy, but you can use colors, you can use detonations. You can say red means you are investing in equity, blue means you're investing in debt, green means it is debt, just so that it is easy for someone that has no experience in investing to understand what is investing is relative, but what type is it? Debt? Is it equity? When will I get my dividend? And also to standardize it, so it's not this guy is paying me 1 month, this guy is paying me quarter. That's just all right.
Okay, I agree with you.
Super. I got text up. Thanks for holding on, sir. Text up. You've got the mic. Dr. Ibnoba is here. Go ahead and ask a question, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, thanks. I want to find out from you from the equity type of investment. Now, knowing that it is whatever return that is being collected or be shared across every of the investors, are the investors going to take full parts of whatever happened? Because at this point, that my money is at stake. So, am I going to be fully involved? Because I can't just sit down and I'm telling the property guy to go and do his probably marketing and get, like, am I going to take full, are all the investors going to partake fully in the whole process, the building, the selling and everything? That's number one.
I think as an investor, you are simply investing your money to get a return. So I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. If that's what you're asking, I can answer that. But he can.
No, I mean, I think you mentioned two times. You mentioned equity.
Okay.
Whereby whatever that comes, you have to share it among yourself.
Okay, so let me Carlo, I'm back to my hand. I'm hoping that it is fixed. If it's not, then maybe I'll probably go back to the PropCrowdy. But again, the reason TechSoft, the reason you are doing this, okay, is because you have trusted or you are entrusting PropCrowdy for this transaction. If you want to be involved, the big question is, involved as an investor. So that means you're almost like taking operational role or a day-to-day role. And, that's not like, I'm thinking that your investment should work for you while you are somewhere chilling, rather than going to site, getting involved. And I think that's the role that PropCrowdy has come to play. So take all of that stress off you. And that's why we have subjected ourselves to SEC requirements and the corporate governance structure.
Mm. Mm.
So, and then again, like I also said, you are going to be getting quarterly reports on the project. On the platform, you are going to have videos and pictures of progress that is happening with the development. So, because for example, what if you're living in Canada or you're somewhere in South Africa? You can't be involved, but that doesn't stop you from making investments. So on the platform, you will have videos, you will have pictures, you will have quarterly reporting that we do just to give you the state of your investment.
Yeah, I get you. Thanks.
Okay, so it's more like I live in America or I live in the UK or South Africa. I want to diversify away from dollar. I want to invest in Nigerian property, but I don't want to send money to quote unquote my brother to build me one flat in Lagos or in Aba. So I go to PropCrowdy. I'm able to see projects in Nigeria, and they will maybe their yield, just like on the stock exchange, they will have the yields that those guys have promised on that memorandum to be up there.
Correct.
I can invest in, say, Benin. I can invest in Yola. I can invest in Abuja. I put my money in. PropCrowdy takes my money and makes me a return back to me because I'm not chasing the developers. PropCrowdy is making the returns back to me. But what I have done is I've been able to diversify away, and they are saying that they can invest based on my annual income. So look at the trick here. If I live in America, if they convert my annual income to Naira, I can invest more. So if I bring in $100, I already have, even if you use official rate, nearly 50,000, right? Nearly, even it's official. But if you're investing in Naira, you might have just that. So for the foreign guys, this is a way for you to inflow money back to Nigeria, diversify, and get into an asset class that sort of beats inflation. The value of real estate beats.
Correct. You're right.
But the yield is where the yield for me does not beat inflation. I'm going to come back to the doctor on that. The value holds value over during inflationary periods, but the yield is where we will talk. That's my next topic, Ronald. Once we get to Samuel to ask his question, I want to really talk to you about the yield in property in Lagos, Abuja, and where you think yields are really good for investors in Nigeria in real estate at the moment. So, Samuel, you've got the floor. Go ahead, and Dr. Ronald is here. Go ahead, Samuel.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Ronald, I just have a quick one here. So, is it now safe to assume that for debt, the return is fixed with the example you gave there, okay, 20% and no. But for equity, the income or losses are shared. Also, with the example that you cited, for equity now, are there going to be measures that are going to be in place to ensure that the project doesn't return, to a loss? Because if the interest is not fixed and we're going to be sharing the income, then there has to be something to ensure that, okay, for example, you also mentioned that you also check if there are off-takers or buyers for the properties on ground. So I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carl, it looks like we have hard investors on this space.
Correct. Yeah, that's my space has a lot of guys that want to know about.
You have hard investors. Anyway, I mean, good question. Okay, so the thing is, again, I will always take you back to the fundraisers and what is stated clearly in their memoranda. Okay. So, because at the end of the day, right, we want to be very sure that we want to state equivocally that PropCrowdy is not guaranteeing. We are not even if we had the power, even if we had the means to guarantee your investment, the rule does not allow us. So we are not about to say we want to guarantee you the investment. So this is where, just like Carlo had said, it becomes very important to say, are you doing debt crowdfunding or are you doing equity crowdfunding? And this is why the fundraiser is going to be extremely clear in their placement document to say that this is what we are doing, this is what we are not doing. This is, if it's equity, this is what will happen. If it is debt, this is what will happen. I think I cannot state that enough. And this is where we on our own are putting, resources to ensure that anybody who comes to speak to us from a consumer education point of view, we are always open and willing to assist those people, just to kind of break down. So we're going to have a lot of sessions with retail investors, especially explaining to them all of these differences and what the outcome is for them. So within a period where an offer is on, we have said that the fundraiser would organize a consumer education where we will also be present, trying to just clarify things for the investor.
Okay, that works, Ronald. Again, guys, talking, my DMs are open. Ronald's DM is open. Follow Ronald, follow PropCrowdy. Their handle is right there. If you have follow-up questions, please do that. I mean, this is an asset class in Nigeria that we are used to actually building. We're not used to actually investing, should we say, in fractionalized basis. You know how we buy shares and stocks? We've already done that with real estate on a fractionalized basis. This is basically a brand new thing for us. And the SEC approval to me is just a game changer for Ronald. Ronald, let me ask you a few questions really outside PropCrowdy. We were talking about the yields in Nigeria in terms of real estate. I know before you did PropCrowdy, you like said 18 years in the real estate market in Nigeria. I know your background in real estate. Just talk to me about investing in that asset class in, say, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, those centers, and it could be the centers just outside them. If I was an investor, what should I be looking at? What's the hot location right now in Nigeria if I was going to do real estate?
Okay, so again, I want to be very clear. You know, we all know that real estate is location, and that's why I'm happy you're asking the question where. Okay, now general yields in the market, if I want to be generous today, I would say somewhere around 9-10%. If I want to be generous, okay? But again, it also depends on which asset class in property. So if I'm talking about commercial spaces, that's where I will be talking around maybe, okay, so I can take this up maybe 2 notches, maybe to about 12%. When I'm talking about commercial real estate, I can be talking about 10-12%. If I'm talking about housing, okay, somewhere around 5-6. When it comes to housing, the bustling city, the high net worth area seems to have lower yields in terms of residential. But in commercial, they have higher yields. So depending on what you want to do, and that's why I'm giving examples for commercial spaces around 9-10, residential around 5-6 or around that range. And then in mid what would say upper middle income. And I gave a simple example of looking at between Surulere and Ikoyi and VI. Okay, so we need to put that at the back of our mind. But Carlo, let me paint a picture of what might be happening in Ibejuleki. Okay, now today in Ibejuleki, it would amaze you that it will cost you about somewhere between 70,000, and Ibejuleki is where you have the Dangote refineries, okay, around that area. It will cost you between 80,000 naira, or let me say 70,000 naira per square meter, to around anywhere as high as 180 to 200,000. And this is funny because am I going to travel 2 hours or 2.5 hours from VI, you know, to Ibejuleki, where I am buying 1,000 square meters of landed property at an average of 70-80 million naira. So what is happening in terms of looking at yield? Because Dangote have about $40 billion of, you know, in terms of assets or valuation for that refinery. You have the free trade zone in that axis. You have an international airport coming in that axis. If I were an executive director of marketing for Dangote or the CFO, am I going to travel 2 hours when I live in Ikoyi or in VI to get to office? The answer is no. So what's happening right now in terms of yield in that location is that Ibejuleki is taking a luxury, a high net worth individual type, for lack of a better word, settlement. Because what is happening right there is being done to cater for all of the elite. The airport, the free trade zone, the expats who are coming into the country, the bug boys who are working in the refinery. And so that has taken the price up of land today. I'm just talking about land now because, of course, before you talk about construction, you have to talk about the land where you are going to put the property on. So what's happening in that area is that yields will typically rise if you were talking about the price you get into acquisition for land and what the value is. But over the next 4 or 5 years, you are going to see a lot of the high net worth, the big boys and the big girls, because of the sort of industrialization that is happening in that axis. And because nobody is going to travel 3 hours to work and say, because I live in Ikoyi, I'm a big man, but I have a job with Dangote, or I have a job with a manufacturing concern in the processing zone, I want to travel 2 hours to work and 2 hours back. So I think for Lagos, you can begin to look at areas like Ibejuleki, but this is not happening today. We're talking about another. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm saying that yields will potentially get higher in that region, but today people are already experiencing yields in their land transactions. Okay. Now, if you move from Lagos, I think you just want to pick Rivers, you want to pick Abuja. You are looking at where you have a lot of commercial activities. Okay, so for example, I think this is where I need to bridge property technology.
No,
okay?
I don't want to. Are you saying that Ileki, that Bejuleki side? What are you actually saying? If you could really land, your helicopter was hovering. So I in terms of the time to get to that place is congested. The refinery is there. Lots of folks are living there. It's the most expensive peninsula in the world, right? So what are you saying? If I want to look at that place, or should I sort of maybe go somewhere else?
No, so in landing, sorry, at times, okay, sorry that I didn't land that helicopter, but thank God it hasn't crashed, okay? So in landing, really, the advice is that, yes, you can take on a transaction in Ibejuleki right now, and your yields are potentially going to be, they're going to improve over time. Let me tell you why the question of yields, okay? So what I'm saying is that today, if you have an apartment that is 70 million naira, you cannot get 7 million per annum today, which is a 10% yield. I mean, I hope I'm right in my calculation, right?
Correct.
Okay. You cannot get a 7 million. So the question for you today, Kalu, is, okay, I bought this property in Ibejuleki at 70 million naira. Okay. I'm waiting for 4 or 5 years when this refinery and everything around there picks up. Will I find somebody today who will leave 7 million naira who will leave 7 million naira per annum in Lekki Phase 1 and come and take my property? The answer is almost no, except that person is either working, already has a job, working around that refinery, or already working in any of the manufacturing concern and all of that. So again, what I'm trying to say is that when you look at yield and look at this transaction, I'm saying that in another 4 or 5 years, this will really, really improve, because the house that you now bought at 70 million could actually be renting at somewhere 9 million or 10 million, because you are going to have a massive economy within that region. That's what I'm trying to say today.
Okay.
But yes, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, okay, yeah, I agree with you. So it goes back to the point I made about the yields in Lekki, and that the yield in Lekki is really, really very, very low.
Yes, today, very low. And that's why I said somewhere around 4 to 5%. Yes, very low today.
Yeah.
But again, this is like saying that, and I think I need to make a disclosure. So let nobody go and buy property in Ibejuleki today and say it was on my advice. You need to contact your financial advisor. But I'm just saying that this is where looking at property and looking at yield, this is what we're looking at. And so another thing I want people to put in mind is to say that, commercial spaces gives you more yield, Carlo. So you also want to think, should I be investing in retail outlets, in office spaces, in warehouses to boost my yield, or should I be looking at residential properties? Yeah. But to land it, yes, yields are low today, and they've continued like that in those regions. But to answer whether you should go and invest in Yola or invest in Maiduguri or invest in Benin, I think the three usual suspects, Lagos, Abuja, and Rivers, and in Rivers, you are drilling down to Port Harcourt. That's why I think that this is where you have the yield. But to answer the question is that real estate creates that store of value for you. If your returns beat inflation, but in terms of yield, this is the challenge that we are facing, Carlo.
Okay, and so if the government builds a road or builds a light rail in Lekki, does that help out the yield? I mean, that means that we take away the traffic. I can leave VI and get to Lekki in 20 minutes.
Absolutely. What I'm just saying is that as a C-suite executive, right, I have better use of my time that spend 4 to 6 hours a day just sitting in the car. So if light rail comes in on that, it changes the game. Gotcha.
I hear you. Excellent. Okay, and I also have a question on my DM. Someone is asking that, okay, that are you a self-regulatory, you're a self-regulatory organization like the stock exchange? He's asking you a question. That is PropCrowdy going to be self-regulatory, just like say the Nigerian Stock Exchange, something like that?
We are hoping to get there. I'm sure that once we prove ourselves, they'll be happy to make us an SRO. But right now, it's okay to call us a marketplace, of some sort, an intermediary and all of that. But yes, we've had that conversations. Again, this is very new, and that's why their eyes are on us. And we just want to prove that we are a good and responsible entity. And I'm sure that we will get to the point of being an SRO. But we're not that as of today.
Okay, good. And I got Adewale on Twitter is asking you, how will you know my annual income? Are you going to ask for pay stubs? But how will you know his annual income?
Absolutely. Clear KYC. You are going to upload. It's just your blood that we will not ask you to upload. You are going to upload, everything that makes us know you. I mean, Kalu, the SEC in US, okay, just allowed crowdfunding platforms to be able to raise $20 million per transaction. They got there over time. That's where we want to go. If we want to give the SEC confidence to enable us to raise those kind of money, we have to do this very well.
Okay. Gotcha. Makes sense. And just reiterate that point is asking, you made the point about you have less 20% or so of your income. Just let me retrieve the point so that folks are just joining in. What's the cap?
Okay. So the cap for retail investors is that you cannot invest more than 10% of your annual income. Okay, so to break that down, if your annual income is 5 million naira, you cannot invest more than 500,000 naira within 12 months period. If your annual income is 500,000 naira, you cannot invest more than 50,000 naira within the 12 months period. But for high net worth individuals and institutional individuals, you don't have any limit. And the spirit behind this is that SEC is saying for institutional investors and high net worth individuals, they know better. So if they want to take that risk, that's fine. But for the public and the retail investors, they are trying to put some safety nets and safeguards that enables them not to invest more than 10%.
Great. Okay, I got Michael on the fly. I got more questions on Twitter. I've got one from Wahid, but I want to get Michael in. Wahid usually is taking you up on the ability of SEC or PropCrowdy to enforce that rule, because there's no way to know the annual income of retail investors. But I hear you say KYC, you basically are going to send in your pay stub, I believe, Is that going to be enough just to pay stop?
Yeah. So even whether you are a business owner, you see again, a lot of the things. Part of the mission we also have as PropCrowdy, okay, is to also bring a lot of informal people into the formal bracket. So it's very simple, Kalu. You know, your bank statement will show what your earnings are. Do you understand what I'm saying? If it's not to the T, but you cannot come and get a windfall from somewhere that we cannot verify, you are not a high net worth individual, and come and put it on the platform. So we will get your pay stub. We will get your employment or offer letter if you're working in an organization. If you're an informal business person who doesn't have any of those, you will have your microfinance bank account or something that enables us. But we are not going to. So if we are not sure, if we don't know you, it's simple, we will not allow your investment.
Okay.
Because again, like I said, Carlo, the hope is to ensure that we democratize real estate investment. But we don't want to do that at the expense of making this very risky for the system. Okay? And so we are really, really committed to ensuring that the system is so robust that all of these little KYC issues are dealt with.
Excellent. Okay, Michael, you've got the floor, sir. Michael, go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you so much, Carlo, for the opportunity. My question is also regarding this KYC stuff and the cap for how much you can invest and all that. Now, for example, if I'm someone who doesn't hold my savings in Naira, for example, I use a solution like crypto wallets and all that to hold USDT and all that, or USDC, some US dollar stable coin. How do I go about the KYC stuff, especially when I don't want to shift my savings to Naira? How do I go about the KYC stuff so that I'll be able to invest?
That is a good question. So Ronald, I mean, but do you earn a salary, Michael, before you buy the BTC? Did you earn? How did you buy the BTC?
I receive salary directly in USDT. My employer, that's part of the terms of my contract.
Oh, so your employer pays you USDT as salary, so it goes to a wallet directly.
Yes.
Yeah, so all you need to do is show me that.
Okay.
All you need to do, see. So once you show me that, okay, what I then do is I will check what CBN is doing at official rates, and then I use that to know what exactly you can invest. If you argue with me that no, that's not the value of Naira, then I would say, sorry, you cannot invest.
Okay. Because just to be clear, right, even in America, they have what they call accredited investors. So you can invest in options or hedge funds if you do not have a certain income or certain assets. The SEC will not allow you to open up a hedge fund or to buy options. Most of you guys are doing this all. You see, the system will ask you, do you want to trade option? They will ask you your income. That's why they're asking that question. So you have to have a certain income or experience or even asset class before you are allowed to do those kind of quote unquote high value or high knowledge type. Just to make sure we're well following doctor's point. Yeah. So doctor, I mean,
just one last question, Carlo.
Go ahead.
Okay, what if, for example, if I'm a freelancer and as freelancers, your earnings per month is not guaranteed. This month you can make like $1,000. The next month you can make 500. The next month you can make 2,000. So how do we go about that as freelancers? How do you go about KYC?
Another good question.
Sorry, you were breaking. If you could just help me take that again. It was muffled up, and I didn't get that.
His income on the regular. Not just him, but you have many guys that have income, but it's not regular. Maybe a Nollywood investor. I do movies and I get paid once in like that. How would you guys factor that in for folks that not earn a regular month-to-month salary?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's what I'm saying, that your bank statement will do that for me. Because again, I think the point is just like you mentioned with accredited investors, we just want to make sure that we know who is investing. And it's also for the protection. It's also for you, because we're saying if you earn a salary, okay, if you are written, why do you want to invest more than 20-30%? Something that impairs you, on a crowdfunding platform. I think that's basically what the SEC is also trying to guard against. So if you receive monthly, bi-monthly, half yearly, or per annum, then that is what we will use. What we just need is to see a proof of what your annual income is. So whether that comes once a year, or it comes twice a year or 3 times a year, we just want to know what that sum is. And on the basis of that, we will calculate your 10%.
Okay. All right, Doctor, let's start to round this and take it to the home base. So I'm getting a lot of questions on Twitter saying, is this active? Has this started? I think you should answer if it has started, but also tell us, what do we do now, right? So if I'm interested as an investor, what do I do? If I'm interested as a vendor, what do I do?
Okay, great. So our first offer will come in the first week of February. So what we are doing now is creating that wait list, both for people who want to raise funding and those who want to invest. So what you guys need to do is go to propcrowdy.com/waitlist and register for the wait list. Now, once you get to the wait list, you'll see section whether you're a fund raiser or whether you are an investor. And on that basis, the PropCrowdy team guys will type on that on our handle now so that you guys can see it and on the space. So it's propcrowdy.com/waitlist, and you will go there and register. Like, we're opening first week in February. And so what will happen is you will receive newsletters from us once the offer takes off. Of course, we will do a promotion starting that offer and all of that. We are live. We have tested. First week in February, first week, second week in February, the first set of offerings will be on the platform. But to be the first to know, sign up on the wait list and we'll sure get in touch. Follow our handles, PropCrowdy. You can also follow my handle. My DM is open. PropCrowdy's DM is open, and we will answer all the questions that you have.
Excellent. So, I mean, that's the next steps are to follow. And of course, then to also do your own research. And then that's it. He's saying this first offers will be out in February. I personally, right, so Doctor, I didn't really give you the prop that you deserve. This is a big deal. I don't think you're being a bit modest, coming from where we were in the past to where we are now, that you have been able to secure a SEC license. I know how SEC operate, not just the monetary requirements to get a license, but also the due diligence on the promoters of the license.
Sure, absolutely. No, absolutely.
Commend you and your team that you've done this, because you could just do what you were doing, but now we're bringing this to everyone to we say, get more professionalism in this space. Real estate in the world is the driver of long-term wealth, and we cannot start talk about mortgages or talk about creating wealth when we don't have the other spokes in the wheel, right? We have the PFA. We have the individuals, we have the land banks. This is just one part of that total process that will then take Nigeria from very, very low home ownership and wealth created via the real estate sector to a Nigeria where hopefully you get a job, you're able to get a long-term 30-year mortgage, you buy into a 2-bed in Lagos, you then go into a duplex. When you retire, you sell your property and you move to your village where you can get a house there as well with the equity from the sale of your home in Lagos. That's how it's supposed to be, right? And this is just contribution. PropCrowdy coming to the scene will make this a lot easier, make the place more professional. So congratulations to the team. And
thank you very much.
We've done about an hour, 30 minutes, which is more than we want to stay here forever. But let's just see if I have a few more messages there. In the event, I have sent my annual income. So, yeah, if you get a promotion, so I was just asking if you get a promotion, can you do more? I think the answer is yes, Ronald. I mean, he's saying he sent you a
that of course, yes. Just update your account on the platform, and yes, you can do more.
Okay, just update. Then again, this is the question I've gotten a lot. Just to clarify again, is this only for real estate and the value chain? I know you said that at the beginning, but again, you could maybe take that again. if this is for.
Oh yeah, sure. Oh sure. So what we're saying is real estate and the value chain. The only thing we cannot crowdfund is commodities. Okay, agriculture and commodities. Basically, we can't crowdfund commodities, and those who can crowdfund commodities when they do get a license will not be able to crowdfund real estate. So we are doing real estate, we're doing infrastructure, we're doing renewable. I mean, renewable energies will follow that infrastructure. We can do any other thing outside of except for commodities.
Great. All right, and guys, I've just retweeted the PropCrowdy waitlist link. So if you are interested in being an investor or to be a vendor, they just shared out their link, join our waitlist. I also retweeted that. So I think the first step is just to sign on and then see what happens. What are the offers that you would get? And then you can then take it from there, right? I mean, crowdfund, like I said at the very, very top, when I asked on my scientific poll how folks were going to finance their business, everyone said banks and family and friends. This is the way Africa. Look at this as, if you could take it to the extreme measure, right? This is Esusu, right? This is the way we really,
very true.
Raise money. You want to build a house, your town donates money to you, you build, and you also donate to the next person. So this is going back to our roots here, guys. We're making it a formalized, we're putting in due diligence, we're putting in risk management and all that. That's what we're doing. So I'm very, very hopeful that this will turn out big. I want Ronald to also think about how they can lock in that 25% that PENCOM has allowed owners of retirement savings accounts to use as a down payment.
Yes.
With PropCrowdy, how will PropCrowdy use that? Can I simply transfer that money from my RSA to PropCrowdy? Now the say go from my account to the mortgage bank. Maybe you should go to PENCOM and see how you can also make this, since it's a SEC-funded platform, also have that window to go over to this. That would also, I would say, give it a bit more, use the utility of the platform would also increase if I can go from my RSA directly.
Straight to, yeah, makes sense. I mean, it's something makes a lot of sense. Even though right now it's just for mortgages, you're right. Since we're within the regulatory purview, is something that we should really take a go at. Yes. Yeah. So we'll note that down, Carlo. That's very instructive.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let's just wind down. I mean, Doctor, you've got the last word for it. Doctor, you've got the last word. Yeah, go ahead and give us your closings and all.
Oh, okay. So we're wrapping up now, right? Okay, guys. I mean, thank you so much for taking the time. I see that a lot of people have joined us and they've made this very engaging. In terms of final thoughts, really from our end, it's basically to say that we are very passionate about democratizing real estate investments and everything around that value chain, and that's why we're doing this, and that's why we've put the barrier really, really low to 10,000 naira for anybody who wants to invest. And so I'm just going to encourage everyone, to join us on this journey as we build this community. Ask us all the questions, no matter how hard you think, no matter how hard you might think that question would be, and we'll keep engaging us. If you have questions or if you need clarifications, and like I said, jump on the wait list, follow us, and really our success factor at PropCrowdy is how many people that we create wealth for. Now we are doing this and it's impacting a whole lot of areas that we haven't talked about. For example, we are big on sustainable development goals, ensuring that people are out of poverty, doing responsible investing, creating the right environment, creating jobs. We're encouraging women to also come on investment, and all of that. We're also very big on looking at net zero. A lot of the curation that we're doing right now are developers who are taking designs of green into play. So we are big on that, because we're saying, hey, we must use this to push to net zero, ensuring that we are taking great into the whole thing. I mean, these are all conversations for another day. But this is what we're doing with PropCrowdy, and we thank you all for joining us in this space. And we'll be happy if you continue to engage us. Thank you very much.
Excellent, Doctor. Thank you much. Also want to thank the guys at the back sending all the messages. They've been very, very good. And all that. Yes, there is a waiting list. The DMs are flooding in now, Doctor. Yes, there's a waiting list. Any open property to invest? Not yet. Doctor says that will happen from February. I searched on, yeah, so no need to search now. I believe from February you will then see those offers are pouring. Yes, if you are not value chain for real estate, so if you are doing, say, water for real estate, solar for real estate, environmental sustainable projects for real estate, I believe you can speak to PropCrowdy and see if
yes, construction equipment,
just reading. Yes, there's a cap for investing because SEC wants to make sure that you are not just able to invest, but you have the ability to invest, right? So there's just that income gap, income qualifier is there. Also that you could not invest everything in this and then come out. You just want to make sure that you are fully balanced out here. So sorry guys, I'll respond to the DMs once we're done. But again, follow PropCrowdy, follow Doctor, ask them your questions. I'm sure they'll come back to you. Doc, let me just close also by saying that, we always preach on this forum diversification, right? We always tell Nigerians, diversify not just away from one currency and one, should we say geography, right? That means that if you earn in Naira, diversify. If you earn from Nigeria, diversify. It's the same thing if you earn in the US. If you earn in the US, diversify. If you earn in dollars, diversify. We have only had REITs and mortgage-backed securities before we have this PropCrowdy platform. So if you want to invest in real estate, you have to go to Nigerian Stock Exchange and invest in a real estate investment trust. Now we have more for us to diversify away, save our Naira away from inflation, and hopefully down the line, those investments become valuable and we can get in. There are debt options here. There are equity options here. I can just lend money to a vendor and get a rate of return, or I can invest monies and also have a share in that project. I'm sure there'll be hybrids that will come along. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have many vendors that will come out now to create a sub-industry around PropCrowdy, guys that will write out your plans, guys that will analyze what you're doing on PropCrowdy and all that. So I'm very, very hopeful that this will just continue to grow as the time goes along. So thank you all for joining in. Thank you for spending your evening with us again. We'll be here next Saturday. From February, guys, we'll move this to Sundays. So next week we'll be here. Next we're going to talk about the economy in 2023 in Nigeria. We're going to take the macroeconomic variables, right? And we're going to say how have they performed from 2015 till 2022 and what should we look forward to in 2023. It's a critical year, 2023. We know why it's a critical year. We'll talk about it next week. Doctor and the team at PropCrowdy, thank you
so much
for the session. We appreciate you guys. We hope you will come back and talk to us again about the success of PropCrowdy, hopefully in a year's time.
Amen. Amen.
All right, thank you guys. You guys go enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go Chelsea. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone.